All right, gang, we're going to run this tight, short, and sweet. We have had a day of technical issues, and so we're gonna cut this down to the bare bones. It's a
It,
beautiful day in the neighborhood.
it is a beautiful Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day.
Beautiful Memorial. Happy Memorial Day.
All right. So the very long, very short, very sweet. None of my stories are short, but we're gonna
Yeah,
try to keep it from being long.
but they're all sweet. That's right.
Hey, over the years, I have taken my stab at writing. My goal would have been to write the next great comic book, or at least the next great American novel, but Moby Dick can only be written once. So, that being said, Mark, pay real close attention here. I'm going to need you to fill in the blank spots. Mother, this would be your opportunity to stop watching the video because you're not going to appreciate any of the stories that we're going to go over today. So we'll catch you on the next one. Do this. This is horny caveman video. Um, a long time ago, me and Mark used to work together, and while we worked together, we had the opportunity to spend a lot of time BSing and just idling the day away with mindless chatter. And between he and I, we both kind of came up with this idea for a story, a comic book story that we'd like to write, where two characters implied to be he and I are suddenly transported from wherever they came from before this reality into the DC comic book world. Now, not necessarily the one that they are running on the shelves today, but let's basically just say an alternate universe filled with the same characters.
The Mark and Steven universe.
Yeah, and we call this
You
you.
need to make that. That's a family. That's a household name soon to be.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You need to put it out there.
That's quite a letterhead at the top of the comic book on the left hand side. It's Mark and Steven Productions, Mark and Steven Publishing. So we came up with this story, and someday when all of our technical issues and our time are in better standing, I will go over the whys and wherefore thou art. There's your William Shakespeare
Yeah.
reference. Yeah.
Way to make sure it ended up in the episode.
We got to get it in here anyway. We just got to word it different.
Yeah.
It's got to land better. And he and I came up with this whole story about 15 years ago, and there are a lot of things that contributed to this, but the bare bones is that he and I are transported from this world into that one. And and the nature of our journey, the magic we're empowered with getting from A to triple Z, basically it makes him go completely insane. And so he's the villain in the piece, and I'm the good guy, okay? But the catch is that when we get there, he's quicker on the uptake than me, and he remembers everything. So he has kind of this meta awareness of the reality we're now in, almost like Deadpool.
Right.
And so that journey traumatizes him, and he's borderline nihilism, like he's a complete clinical sociopath. Meanwhile, I have utter amnesia. I don't remember Tuesday,
Okay.
kind of thing. And and the whole thing builds to us finally encountering each other and being like, man, this feels familiar. I'm getting weird deja vu. Mark, on the other hand, remembers exactly who I am, and he taunts me, and he's like, "Oh, it's you. What are you doing?" And so he just plays this game with me where I'm like, "What do you mean we know each other?"
Right.
And and anyway, to give you a little bit of background on Mark's character, when he really gets up and running, and he is the villain, part of his power set. The active power set is that he has shadow based abilities, and that adapts a lot of different ways. Like he can talk to shadows as though they are living, breathing entities, or there are creatures inside of them that he can communicate with.
Okay.
He can travel through shadows from one place to another. He can basically make himself into a living shadow. Like he'll become immaterial and just be able to phase through solid objects or have solid objects phase through him.
Okay.
He can actually rip shadows off of whatever their sources are and then turn them into weapons to fight with. Like your coffee cup sitting right there, he can just rip the shadow off of it and turn it into something to kill you with.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah. And so that's one of his powers, and he and I both came up with that. And anyway, when he gets running and people start, that guy, the villain of the story, everybody calls him the Shadow King,
Right.
and he clinically his character is named after Erebus, the Shadow God, or the something like that. And I don't remember which pantheon of deities the name belongs to. I think it's Greek, but I could be wrong. Yeah, we gotta get rolling. So that's why I'm talking so fast. Hopefully, it doesn't jar you all that I'm speaking so quickly. But we have run through this at least twice already. This is our lucky number three video, and we are on a time crunch, so we're gonna cut it short and simple.
You know that's right. Gronk's good at talking and talking fast.
Well, that'll be the only time that I'm good at anything. So,
You're good at impressions of other people's impressions.
uh, well, Mark's other power, the kind of ambient thing that he does while he's in the room, his general presence. Basically, he is what you might call a carrier for an airborne rage virus. People simply are in the room with him, and it just pours off of his skin like sweat, and it's just mist you wouldn't even see in the air if you weren't paying attention.
Right.
And all of a sudden people lose their minds. They go completely crazy. There's a scene in the book where he's just walking down the middle of the street doing this, like a maestro, and it just chaos erupts around him, and some car swerves to avoid him and crashes into somebody else. Well, the person that they crashed into gets out of the car, and she's already an angry woman anyway, and she just pulls a gun out of her purse and starts firing into the street indiscriminately. Like, your hair looks funny.
All right.
I don't like your clothes. Just whatever, and just so mass.
Looks like a bad block on GTA.
Yeah, and like the whole world feels the effects of his being there, and so I have to stop him. I have to fight him. I have to quell the chaos that he
Creates.
creates. Yeah, thank you.
Well,
And the whole thing, one of the things that kind of fueled the fire here that got this the whole thing going was about 10 years ago. I started reading a lot of ebooks on Kindle, and a lot of things that aren't on the bookshelves at the stores. Like there are
right.
lots of e-publishers out there, and their storefront is your e-readers and your tablets and whatever your device is.
Okay.
And I got really into harem fantasy for a while, where a guy has like 3, 5, 11 different girls following him around. It's his team of lovers that he
Keeps with him.
keeps with him, and they just have all these adventures, fight all these wars, and overcome all these obstacles, whatever you want to call it. And this is one of the elements of that story. So all the DC chicks like Wonder Woman and Poison Ivy and Supergirl and Katana and Batgirl, and all these characters come into play, plus all the ones that we invented on our own.
Okay.
And and so as you see all those relationships. You see the relationships to the big DC male characters, like me and Superman are best friends.
That figures. It couldn't be any other way.
Well, whenever there's trouble, whenever somebody needs a hand, because I'm the only one that seems to have any ability not to be affected by that ray, because our powers don't work on each other.
Right.
So, I am the one who can safely walk into his orbit and deal with him. And meanwhile, everybody's like 20 feet away, 100 feet away from me on the outlier, really kind of cleaning up whatever
Has happened from it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And see, in the way that it works is that but between he and I, he is the unstoppable force, and I am the immovable object. Because no matter what, you can't kill him and destroy him, and that's it.
Right.
Like he'll always come back from it, like Doomsday. Like he gets into a fight with Superman and completely bests Superman with his rage, and Superman just blows him down with his heat vision until he's nothing but ashes, at least 5 times. And each time he manages to just regrow himself, even from a single atom.
Nice.
Just
Cool.
right, a reverse pile of goo.
Right.
And meanwhile, I, on the other hand, am utterly indestructible. Like I literally fly through the heart of the sun,
Okay.
and it's just like
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Twin telepathy.
Do
We
that's
did
right.
it.
No, that's right.
So that bearing in mind, part of the other magic. One of the things that I'll say about my character is that there is a magic about my character that people can't see my face.
Okay.
Like you and I can be looking at each other, and the longer you look at my face, the more like a sort of fog will set in your head, and
Deform what I'm supposed to be seeing.
yeah, kind of obscure whatever it is that
Right.
my face that you're looking at. Like you can see that I have eyes, and like there's a nose,
It's
and
almost like you give off a mist of your own
yeah,
that people cannot portray your actual looks.
yeah.
All right.
And the longer people try to look at me and focus on me, the less they'll be able to
Make it out.
make it out.
Right.
Yeah. Like and that's one of the things about my characters that like I am a stranger, and so I'm just basically, as long as people observe me in passing, they can like, oh yeah, that's a guy.
Yeah.
But if they're like, who's the dude?
Yeah.
They won't.
They'll lose
There's a
it.
magic there. They're gonna lose it.
Yeah.
Now, this team of my lovers, if we'll get into the clinicals, like most of the, like in there's a whatever it is, and it's different for everybody. The universe is just kind of parceled that this magic is only going to be able to be penetrated by certain people and in a certain way.
Okay.
Like someone, I pull them out of a fire, I save all three of their kids, I save their dog, whatever. This guy, he finally puts aside his pride and his vanity and his distrust of strangers or whatever, and bam, he can see me.
Right.
I managed to strike up a relationship with one of the DC heroines, and she's always been a closed off, alpha female who
Female.
doesn't need anybody, and it's like open your heart.
Right.
You can love too, or whatever.
Do all of the girls on your team make out your face?
Uh, Not all of them,
All right. Cool. Don't
because
don't spoil it.
one of them, her kink is she doesn't even need to. Like she's like, I kind of like the idea of anonymous
Not being able to
sex or
see it. Yeah.
whatever.
Like you said, they each have their own story that
Yeah,
plays into the whole thing.
and they each have their own story. One of the other ticks about my character is I don't say very much, and like I even speak in broken speech. Like each sentence may only be 2 or 3 words.
Some like OG Hulk stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
but no matter what, everybody can infallibly understand me,
right.
and nobody is like, "Why do you talk like that?"
Yeah.
But that was one of the ticks about my character that Mark and I were trying to suss out, and it's like, well, I don't think that my character should talk a lot. Like I should say more with my just being present
Yeah.
and being helpful and supportive, and that should speak more
That
than
that type of mystery, that's there's a couple people that comment about how that's why they like GTA 3 because like you're the character you played never said anything in any of the cutscenes. You just continuously took everybody's crap from every angle and just was like, all right, cool, let's go deal with it. On to the next job.
just what there's a lot of memorable scenes that stick out to me now that I'd like to talk about, but because we are on a time crunch and I wanted everybody to just be like, "Man, this seems like a cool story. Let's read it." Well, it's still a work in progress. We've got the bones, but it's just I've got the ending and I've got the beginning, and I'm trying to lace the meat on the bones
Right.
from there.
Plus, we need to get him on here.
Yeah, I'd love
so he can, put his 2 cents in with you.
love to have Mark on here to fill in the blank spots and all that, but it's a matter of working out schedules
We'll figure it
and
out.
get a Discord call that he can just chime in on and be like that. Hey, the guy, we have caller on line 9 or whatever,
Right.
and
And I mean, we could record that any time and post it later. Yeah,
yeah,
whatever we can make work out. Love to have you on here, buddy.
Mark's good people. He's a little weird.
Hey,
A lot of that translates into his character in the story. He's a little weird, but he's my friend, and I claim him. I'm weird too. I saw that. You weren't fooling me.
that's because it was on camera.
I have to look at the twin telepathy. I know it's my job to know what you're thinking. But a lot of this story, it was informed and built on our interactions when we were at Meyer, just kind of pissing away time in the back room and talking about random things, and we play these whole wouldn't it be cool and if and
Yeah,
what do you think would happen when
you
and it
start doing that, and you're building whole stories before you know it.
yeah,
Yeah,
and that's really what happened,
started off as an essay, is now a comic book.
yeah. It got really fun to imagine that, and there's something about fantasy, that in your fantasies, like everything works out,
Yeah,
and there's never any problems, and you always manage to save the day and get the girl, and
life's good.
and life's good. Now and I'm gonna go into a little bit of psychoanalysis here real quick. I never thought that I was somebody who was incapable of distinguishing reality from fantasy.
Right,
Like I understand that this is make believe,
right,
but I think there's 10% of your brain where in some ways you're like, I still my personal satisfaction in the real world is not where I want it to be, and things aren't going my way, and life sucks generally. I'm kind of wishing that I could just slip into fantasy and stay there and that ends up being the guy that's trapped in his mother's basement for 45 years
yep,
and I thankfully I am not that guy, but sometimes I'm like, well, today sucked and I don't know what to do about that, and yesterday sucked and I don't know what to do about that. And I've been having a lot of crappy days
right,
where it's like, well, your reality is not measuring up to your fantasy, so of course it's gonna. Well, I know that reality and fantasy don't match up.
right.
And I know I have to live in the world of reality and make the best of the reality in front of me, but it's almost like you think to even imagine different circumstances or better circumstances, you're somehow shooting yourself in the nuts.
Right.
It's like I know that I know.
Maybe they're just unrealistic in comparison.
Well, I mean, do we not all need our illusions though? If if
To
no
some extent, sure.
if nobody imagined a better world, we'd never have the world we have. Somebody said 70 years ago, man, I want to go to the moon.
Right,
Somebody said, I want to invent something that's going to make it easier for me to get from A to way ass over there B.
right. You mean Henry Ford? Actually, he didn't create the car. He just was the first one to create the assembly line for it, I believe.
Uh,
Mass production of something.
we'd have never got off the ground if Orville and Wilbur Wright had not invented the first airplane stewardess.
You're not wrong. But there was math and physics and you know understanding that you were going to fail in a lot of weeks and days and months were going to be absolutely god awful miserable to get there. It wasn't all going to be the sunshines and rainbows. It became the day that it all succeeded.
Look, I know the world is not powered by unicorn farts.
Sure would be cool.
If
Call of Duty is right now. Oh, you
Well,
haven't seen that, have you?
no, I haven't seen that.
It's a finisher. You pull a unicorn's tail up and it farts on the enemy and they fall into fairy dust or glitter dust.
Call of Duty is just getting crazier and
That's what it's
crazier.
become. Nicki Minaj and unicorn buttholes.
It's the name of a porn video I watched one time, I think. No, no, I'm wrong. I'm wrong. That's a different video. Never mind.
Which part was
Where,
that?
where is this? How do I get to it? Because
I
I want to find out.
need to know if the unicorn's real first.
Nicki Minaj ain't real. What does it matter if the unicorn's real?
Nicki Minaj is a real person.
There's no way them movies are real.
Oh no, her body's fake. 90% of her body's fake. Has to be.
She's gonna be the Joan Rivers of people who are not Joan Rivers.
Yeah, probably.
Her body's about 12.
So when are we going to get a copy of this? I
Uh,
don't even think you guys said a title.
we call it the strangers among them.
Strangers Among Them.
Yeah.
Is this a series that's going to run,
Well,
or is this more of a movie that's got a pretty quick intro and pretty quick ending, if you will?
the idea that we started writing it, and it just became longer as we wrote it. So we thought, well, we're going to parcel this out across 5 books,
Okay.
and a lot of the bells and whistles are not there. There's one little ching ching ching, and that's about as I'd say we've got a fourth of it written, but there's still a lot of work to go. And it's a matter of having the inspiration and the time to sit down and be like, oh well, third act.
Yeah.
So something will occur to me and I'll scratch it down and then I'll run it past Mark and he'll be like, well, I like that. I
Right.
like that a lot. And then I'll get a whole bunch, I'll just get a whole brainwave for a while, and it'll disappear just quickly as it sets in, and I forget to write half of the things down. Meanwhile, I go back and I read what I wrote and be like, I don't really like this anymore. I think this is a stupid element of this story. So then I'll change it, and then I'll have to go back and rethread everything so that it is
Fits
sensible
right.
and it fits right.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, I'm so discouraged right now because now I have to rewrite so many different things and you know scratch out so many different interactions and basically eliminate and then redo entire elements of the story, and then it becomes discouraging, and I don't handle discouragement very well. And I don't know, so it's not always fun to be a writer. It's probably rewarding as long as you actually accomplish the thing you set out to do, but like just sitting, being disciplined enough to sit down and scratch it all out and like really put the spinning rims on before the car actually comes off the assembly line is kind of the idea.
Right.
And I don't know about everybody else's writing process, but it doesn't always work that way when I try to do it. And of course, the car's not even off the assembly line yet, so
Huh. To be or not to be.
that is the immortal question. And let's be perfectly honest, I ain't William Shakespeare and I ain't Sam Crubish neither. Quick reference, that is a Looney Tunes short. Bugs Bunny meets Witch Hazel in Shakespeare, the Shakespearean time, and he spends the whole episode running away from her, and they're being followed by a writer who's trying to scratch all this adventure down. Well, at the end of the short, the writer he breaks down and he's like, "I'll never be a writer." And Bugs Bunny's like, "Well, sure you will. You're William Shakespeare." And anyway, this writer's like, I'm not William Shakespeare. I'm Sam Crubish. Well, Witch Hazel knows this guy because they used to go out together. Okay. And so they get into an argument about the fact that on one of their dates, he was supposed to show up at her place to meet her folks. And he's like, I showed up at whatever apartment number she gave him.
Right.
And he's like, you said 2B. And so Witch Hazel's like, I didn't say to be, and they're still walking away arguing about it. And Bugs Bunny's like, to be or not to be, that is the question. And it was perfect. Like they threaded it
It's the way it
so.
needed to be.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they threaded the needle. And I love Looney Tunes. I love Bugs Bunny, and that one has always stuck with me because anytime I think, man, I want to be a writer, and I think, man, I need to be better than Sam Crubish at least. So whenever it comes out and however it comes out, we may have to even animate it into short. I don't know. Something will come of it one of these days. Somebody beyond myself and Mark will sit down and read it and think, man, those guys, they did a
They knew what they
thing.
were doing. Yeah.
That's the next great, that's my next great American novel right there.
Hey, dream big dreams.
We are the music makers. We are the dreamers of dreams.
I don't know what that's from.
That's from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I should have known that one.
Yeah, you should have. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory if I said that too loud or too quietly. I don't know. We're getting punchy, so we're gonna go ahead and call it. Run short like we promised, and we will see you guys later.
Till next time.